Donald Trump is on the podium saying that if he becomes president, he plans to indict Joe Biden. While at the very same time, the basis of his defense in all these charges is that he cannot be charged because he has presidential immunity. How can those two things be true?
Are you suggesting that Donald Trump could be a hypocrite? I've never heard such a thing. Look, what's being argued here is really quite extraordinary. We're hearing from Trump that his interference in the 2020 election was somehow an official presidential act, that he had constitutional authority to try to rig the election, to fundamentally alter the outcome by communicating with members of state legislative offices, with members of Congress to change the results or to nullify millions of votes. No court has ever said anything of the sort. I agree with Joyce. This is a loser argument. And in fact, the 11th Circuit has already said that it's a loser in a separate case involving Mark Meadows that poses much the same question. So he's going to make it a publicity stunt. He's attending so that people will pay attention. But when the opinion comes down, he should expect to lose, probably unanimously.
That's actually what I want to talk about, the publicity stunt, Joyce, because to be clear, Donald Trump does not have to be in court for tomorrow's hearing. It's lawyers versus lawyers. So does that tell us that he views these charges as a political win for him?
You know, he probably views this whole situation as a fundraising opportunity because litigants are very rarely, and particularly criminal defendants, are very rarely in appellate courtrooms. Their presence is even less rarely. In fact, I can only think of one time where it happened in 25 years, acknowledged by the three-judge panel. These are arguments about legal rulings. They're technical, and they don't get into the nitty-gritty of who the defendant is. And, you know, it's not a situation where he'll be introduced in open court. All of that to say, what he will hope to do is to hold a press conference on the courthouse steps. And appellate judges, even less so than trial judges, have tolerance for that sort of a stunt.
So fact check, when he tells people Joe Biden is keeping him in these trials to keep him off the campaign trail, Donald Trump is choosing to be in court. Mark, what about the fact that Trump is not arguing that he didn't do any of the things he's accused of doing? Everything is just that he has immunity for whatever he may have done. Not I'm innocent.
Right. So this question of presidential immunity goes to the jurisdiction over the case, whether a judge can even hold a single hearing, let alone a full trial on these charges. If he wins on presidential immunity, the whole case gets thrown out and he has prevailed. If he contested the facts but said, OK, the trial can move forward, he would have to go through, yes, an entire criminal trial with many hearings, jury selection, the whole 9 yards. He doesn't want to have to do that. So he's trying to go straight to the heart of the case. And that's what his lawyers have been doing, fanning out across the country, wielding this one argument as a cudgel over and over again. But I can't stress this enough. No court has bought it, either now or in the history of the republic. There is no secret footnote in the Constitution that says the president gets to commit crimes in office with no consequence. What he has done is alleged to be illegal, and there is simply no precedent or no logical reason why he shouldn't have to face up to the authorities and a jury of his peers if those facts are alleged with probable cause.
Joyce, I hate that you are the perfect guest to ask this next question to, but sadly you are. Police have confirmed that they got false reports of a shooting at Judge Tanya Chutkan's house. That is the judge who's overseeing Trump's federal election case. In addition to that, special counsel Jack Smith, he was the victim of attempted swatting on Christmas Day. Someone called 911 and claimed his wife was shot. What is your reaction to these deeply disturbing incidents?
Yeah, so this is domestic terrorism. It needs to be prosecuted where prosecution is possible. It needs to be condemned by politicians on all sides of the aisle. Doesn't matter if the people being targeted are Democrats, Republicans, if they're judges or legislators. It's wrong, and I think it's a sign of how normalized violence and this sort of political attack has become in our society as a result of the Trump administration. We are long past time for leaders to stand up together and condemn this sort of thing.